I got some very serious questions to get started. Are you a coffee lover?
I live on coffee.
You live on
Yes,
coffee.
I have to.
How much coffee? I've got a thing going. I'm asking all my guests how much coffee they drink to see
Yeah.
who
Go
is,
ahead.
most enamored or addicted to coffee. How much coffee do you drink a day?
I'd say only 3 or 4 cups. But then the natural question is, how big are the cups, right? It doesn't matter how many cups you have. My cups are generally the 24-ounce
24 ounces.
variety. Yes.
3 or 4.
Yeah,
And
three or
at
four of
what
those.
point of the day do you stop drinking coffee out of fear that
8,
you
9
won't?
o'clock at night. I could drink coffee while laying in bed and fall asleep right then and there. It's
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't think that doesn't speak to my character at all. I don't think I should be lauded for that.
I don't think so. It's sort of like a superpower, isn't it?
Well, just means I've drank a lot of coffee over the years, and it pretty much has almost zero effect on me. But I'm addicted. I have 8 kids. I mean, how do you parent without?
We're gonna get to
coffee?
that,
Okay,
and
all right.
I hear that.
I got all sorts of excuses
I hear
for
that
my
big
vices.
time, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
coffee isn't the only thing that you need in order to father 8 children. What about favorite movie?
Favorite movie is Braveheart.
Braveheart. Why is it your favorite movie?
I think it's got that thing, right? That thing that speaks to something in us men, the courage, the fight, the cause, the woman. I mean, it's got it all, right? And it's got bagpipes. Bagpipes are sweet.
Kilts.
Huh?
I thought you were
Kilts?
going to mention the kilts.
Nah, I'm not big into the kilts, but the bagpipes I can get behind.
All right. The great line in the movie, all men die, but not all men really live.
Mhm.
You've had incredible life, lots of different chapters and seasons of that life, but it started, you grew up in Minnesota. What was life like as a child growing up in Minnesota?
I was very fortunate to have just that idyllic childhood. I mean, grew up in a part of town where there was just a bunch of families, a bunch of kids, sort of blue collar, middle class, good values, million kids in the neighborhood. We were just outside playing all the time. Walked up the hill to school, walked up the hill to church. I mean, it was just perfect. I look back and I think how lucky I was to grow up in a time and a place like that. And I kind of long for that for my kids, right? Life's different these days.
Life is different these days. I read somewhere that, like, as a kid, you didn't win stuff. You weren't particularly athletic. You didn't get picked first in sports.
That's all true.
How does someone go from that to being on a winning Super Bowl team?
Yeah, so I loved sports. I wasn't really any good at them. I was the fat, slow kid, which I was all right with. I mean, it didn't really matter. I remember I knew I wasn't any that good at sports, but it didn't matter. Like, it didn't diminish my love for them. I mean, you play in the neighborhood, and there's guys that are really good and guys that aren't. I was one of the guys that wasn't, and that was okay. And I tried every single sport, and then I got to high school, and I said, well, the only sport I haven't tried is football. So I might as well try that, right? And that's when I discovered 2 gifts that God gave me. He gave me the gift of getting in people's way and the gift of grabbing onto them. And those are 2 really important gifts if you're an offensive lineman. Like, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. And, I started playing football, and I was like, wow, I mean, I'm actually kind of good at this, and I just play in high school, like a letter jacket, and probably had a girlfriend that was a little better looking than she should have been because I was on the football team. I kind of liked it, and never thought I'd play in college, and ended up playing college, and never thought I'd end up playing in the NFL, and played in the NFL for 15 years. So, but I mean, sports was such a huge part of my childhood. And I mean, I can remember for years, people would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was conflicted. I didn't know if I wanted to be a professional baseball player, professional basketball. Like, this was the big decisions that were weighing on me as a child. And And I guess, it's a way of saying that God answers prayers, because I did want to be, more than anything, I wanted to be a professional athlete. But I think that you need to be specific in your prayers to God, because yes, he made me a professional athlete, but he made me an offensive lineman. Like there's no kids on their knees praying at night saying, God, please make me an offensive lineman, right? Nobody wants to be an offensive lineman, but the world needs linemen too. And that's what I was.
So you almost never left Minnesota as a kid.
Right.
What's it like stepping onto campus at Harvard?
Whew, man.
18 years old?
Yeah, 18 years old. So yeah, I kind of said, he's like, I joke around, but it's true. I never won a trophy as a kid. Never. Was never on an all-star team or anything. And had kind of the success in high school with football. And so it was average in many ways until kind of high school. I started getting recognized. And school had always come fairly easy to me. So I was a good student, good athlete, going to Harvard to play football. My parents, they just, I remember they woke my brothers up early. I had 2 younger brothers, woke them up, made them drive me to the airport, all of us. And they just dropped me at the curb. I had 2 duffel bags, which was pretty much everything I had. And they said, good luck. We love you. Come visit you when we can. And jumped on a plane and went to Harvard. And it was just like, I got there, it was just like, oh my gosh, like the world is so much bigger than I knew. I mean, I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, never really went anywhere. I thought everybody was white, Irish, and Catholic. That was my whole world. But then just got exposed to people from all over the world and all these different ideas. But the thing that happened to me in college early on was where I'd kind of been coasting for a few years. It just seemed like I had the Midas touch. I was having all this success, and everybody was telling me how great I was doing, how proud they were, and I was, I was believing the hype. Like, yeah, I'm pretty good, I'm working hard. And I got to Harvard, and it all just kind of came crashing down. I mean, I'm on the football field. I'm an 18-year-old boy. I'm playing against 22-year-old men. That's not going well. And then in school, you're sitting here in class with the best and the brightest, some of the best and the brightest in the world, and you're competing for grades against them, and these unbelievable world famous professors. It was like football wasn't going well, school wasn't going well, and it was probably the first, I'm going to say, real kind of crisis I had in my life, where it was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I can do this.
So you're into your first semester. You wanted to leave. Your dad wrote you a letter. What'd the letter say?
Well, so here's how it went. Like, I was like, yeah, this isn't going well. I was way beyond my comfort zone, and I was scared. And so when I went home for Christmas break, I had 2 duffel bags with me. That was everything I had. And my plan was I wasn't going to go back. So waiting for the right time to spring this on my parents. And I bring it up and I say, I don't think I'm going to go back. And my dad's he's a pretty old school guy. He said, he listened. He said, no, you're going back. And that was it. I went back. Didn't want to, but that was it. Your dad told you. I don't know. You just did it. So I'd been back for a few weeks, and I get a letter in my mailbox, which back then we wrote letters. We didn't have email. And it was a letter from my dad. And he told me that when he was 18 years old, he got a trip to Vietnam. He didn't want to go. He was told to go twice. Served two tours in the Vietnam War. And he said, you're at a great school. You get to play football. Nobody's shooting at you. Grow up. Essentially, it was grow up. And I remember, obviously, that was unbelievable perspective. And I mean, at 18 years old, and you're selfish, and I'd gotten to a point in my life where it was just everything was about me, and so I didn't have that perspective. And the way that he told it to me, how it's those times when a father needs to tell his son something like, hey, this is important, changed my life. and I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I don't know if it got any easier. School was still pretty hard. Football got better. I got bigger and stronger. School was still a struggle, but that was an important day in my life.